In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to build, start, and scale a brand new Amazon business from scratch. And this is going to be a full-length free Amazon course breakdown video for every single one of you on this YouTube channel here. So if you want more content exactly like this, head on over into the subscribe button and hit the subscribe button and like this video. So let's get into it. Selling on Amazon has completely changed my life. It allowed me to go from working as a regular valet, studying in university full-time, to now living life on my own terms while my Amazon business produces income for me upon my behalf. And over the last 4.5 years, I've also been able to help a little bit over 700 people right now at this point start and scale their new Amazon businesses completely from scratch as well as beginners in the e-commerce space. So every single little detail I will explain to you today is going to help you understand the foundational elements you need, how to get started, what you need to focus on, and how to help you start your Amazon business so you can hopefully start making sales soon. So these are strategies, these are specific tips, tricks, insights, specific resources that I provide from my mentorship students like MJ, let's say, for example, who was able to do well over $20,000 in her first 30 days of starting her brand new Amazon business. Or someone like Nadine, who's a mother of 2 little children and was able to do over $100,000 in total sales in just 16 days. There are countless other individuals that I've been able to help, but just to put in perspective for you, everything I'm going to show you today is just because it's what I know works and what has been proven to work for hundreds and hundreds of other people as well. And you might be stuck there trying to figure out, how can this work for you? Is it really that complicated? What are the specific things you need to get started? What do you need to focus on? And that's okay, because this whole entire video is going to explain to you all the in-depths, pulling back all the curtains on what it's like to be selling on Amazon and how you need to be able to treat it in order for you to be able to become a successful Amazon seller. So this is quite literally going to be my longest video that I've ever posted. So make sure to get yourself comfortable, remove all distractions, utilize the most as you possibly can from this free course. Take notes and remember to hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to like this video if you want more content exactly like this one. All right, so first things first, what is selling on Amazon, or what is drop shipping in the way that we do it? So what I want to explain to you is the exact process on how we get products from point A to point B and what your role is as an Amazon seller in the way in which that we do it. So selling on Amazon is a pretty basic thing. You're basically allowing yourself to be a seller on the Amazon platform that has over 300 million customers coming to it organically month over month. But the way in which we do this, you're never going to have to buy any inventory upfront, so no bulk orders. You're never going to have to place any ads. You're never going to have to learn how to build any sort of website or code a website, and you won't ever need to be showing your face as well. So to explain how this model basically works in brief, let's say your supplier has a specific product, it's a blender, and they have it for $50. Now your job as an Amazon seller, what you have the ability to do is to find that same exact product selling on Amazon, but at a higher price comparatively to what your supplier has it at. So let's say my supplier has it at $50. The next price I see it on Amazon for is $105. So my job is to try to be the lowest price as I possibly can for that particular product. So I'll go ahead and list it on Amazon, available for people to purchase for $100. But to be clear, one important note here, you don't ever have to buy the product before it sells. So what this means is I can actively put the product out there available for people to purchase, but I don't spend any of my own money. So hypothetically speaking, even if the product I list doesn't end up selling, it doesn't bother me. And the reason why it doesn't bother me is because I didn't ever spend any money. So I'm never at risk of losing any particular money when it comes to a business model like this. So you're at a win-win situation. So let's say you list a product for $100, it doesn't sell. Whoop-de-dowdy-day, you move on to the next product. But let's say you do make a sale for that blender that you listed for $100. The moment you make a sale for that particular item, you get everything about the customer's information. You get their full name, their shipping address, their phone number as well, and everything you need to know in regards to how to ship the product to the customer. So what you do as an Amazon seller, and the way in which that we do it, is you're going to take the customer shipping information, you're going to copy it, you're going to head on over into your supplier's website. Now, when you're on your supplier's website, you're going to find that same exact blender that the customer bought. You're going to go to the checkout page. You're going to use your own credit card or debit Visa card, whatever you like, to purchase the item from the supplier. However, when you're inputting the shipping information information, this is where you're putting the customer's shipping information and not your own. So this way, the supplier will send the product directly to the customer's doorstep for you. So that way you never have to touch a product. You never have to see a product. You never have to do any physical labor. You're never going to have to hold any of the product in your house or in your garage or anything like that. Your supplier is going to do all the heavy lifting for you. So all you're thinking yourself as, in the way in which that we do this business, you are the middleman. You are the intermediary. So the moment that you process the order from your supplier will ship the product to the customer within a couple of days, and then they'll get their product, and then they're all happy. So the customer bought the product for $100. You bought the product from your supplier at $50. Your profit is basically the difference between the 100 and the 50 plus or minus any particular types of fees. Right? So after fees, your profit will come out to about $35 at the end of the day, because Amazon does take 15% of every product sold based on the listing price. So if you, let's say, for example, you sell a product for $100, Amazon will get $15, and your net earnings from the product is going to end up being $85. And in hindsight, it's actually not that bad, because when you compare this to other business models like Amazon FBA, where you're using Amazon's fulfillment services, you're getting charged 4 to 5 different fees, and you're giving maybe 30 to 40% of your margin directly to Amazon because you're sending products and you're taking space up in their warehouses. Now, a lot of people think, well, does this still work? Is it still lucrative? Is this something that's still going to work in 2025 or in 2026 and whatnot? And look, the easiest way I can explain this to you is not by telling you, but by literally showing you step by step what the data is saying. See, because over the last 3 months of the year in 2024, Amazon was able to make $187.8 billion with a B on total revenue. Of that $187.8 billion, 63% of that amount of revenue was actually generated by third-party sellers like myself. So what that means is Amazon is overly reliant on third-party sellers to keep Amazon on as a platform and bringing new products for people to purchase as a way to keep them afloat. So my frame of thinking is, look, Amazon, I believe, in my honest opinion, is going to be around much farther beyond my lifetime. Right? It's going to be here for hundreds and hundreds of decades at the end of the day, in my honest opinion. So however long Amazon is around, I'm going to want to make sure that I grab my piece of the pie. So it's not like it's going to get too saturated. It's not like it's going to get overly competitive, because there's over 900 million different products sold on Amazon to date. That is so much opportunity out there for anybody to grab for the taking if they actually commit themselves and if they actually learn the right strategies, which is what I'm about to show you inside of this video here. And if you don't believe me, look, I've been in this space for the last 4.5 years right now at this point. I've helped over 700 people right now. Every single year, I've gotten into dropshipping. Every single year that it's a new year, it's 2023, 2024, 2025, it's going to be 2026. Everyone always says, it doesn't work. It's not going to work. It's too saturated, blah, 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 all this certain types of stuff. That couldn't be further from the truth, because not only do I have my results as proof, but I also have results from people like Christian Van Ham, which is one of my students that's been able to do over $2 million in sales in a 30-day timeline as a dad of 4 kids. Or someone like Ben and Morgan, where in their first week, they've been able to do a little bit over $5,000 in total sales. Or let's take, for example, someone like Jean Derismo, who's a full-time nurse working 2 extra jobs, has now been able to get to over $300,000 in total revenue throughout this year so far in 2025. I mean, I can go on and on and on with all the different results from all the different types of people that I've been able to help. But the truth is, saturation or over-competition is more of a mindset thing than anything else. If you think it's going to be competitive, then it's going to be competitive. If you think that there's an opportunity out there for a taking, if you believe, well, if other people are doing it, why can't I? Then that's exactly the reason why you need to get into this, is to figure out how you can get your piece of the pie at the end of the day. And if you're watching this video, you might also be questioning, like, is Amazon even worth it? Like, what about the other platforms like TikTok Shop, like Etsy, like Walmart, like Shopify dropshipping? And yeah, that's a fair point, but I'm going to put up a graphic here that's going to demonstrate to you, and this is based off real data from Statista, that demonstrates that over 60% of the e-commerce market share is dominated by Amazon directly. Okay. So what that specifically means is other platforms are not even worth it at the end of the day to try to entertain, to sell on, because where attention goes, money flows. So the name of the game with something like this is you don't have to reinvent the whole entire wheel in order for it to actually work. People come to Amazon for 2 primary reasons. Customers are lazy, right? So that way Amazon makes it really easy for people to buy products and get it to the doorstep within a minimal time frame. But also, people trust Amazon. People know what it's about. It's been around for decades now at this point. So in this perspective, when people know, like, and trust a platform, that's why it does significantly better comparatively to any other platform that's out there. And to that point, I mean, selling on Amazon has a very minimal barrier to entries. As long as you're over the age of 18, you live in either United States, Canada, or the UK, you can be able to actively have the chance to be able to start selling on Amazon without having a business registration or any sort of fancy documentation to that point. And if you do it right, the income potential is extraordinary. Based on a recent report from Revenue Geeks, they stated that over 40% of total Amazon sellers were generating anywhere between $1,000 per month in income to upwards of $25,000 per month in income as well. So if you do this right, you do have the potential to create a new income stream for yourself and also for your family to achieve the life that you really want to be able to achieve at the end of the day. Right? And I'm not claiming that that's exactly what you're going to do, because I'm not going to make any income claims here. But if you're actually determined and you're willing to put in the work, because this isn't going to be sunshine and rainbows, it's not going to be the easiest thing in the world for you to be able to do, but it's going to be the most worth it at the end of the day. All right, so let's talk about the high level overview of what you need to be a successful Amazon seller and what are the main key moving points to an Amazon business that really allow it to be successful. Okay, so the first point is account health metrics. Now, this is something that oftentimes a lot of people neglect because they view selling on Amazon as a moneymaker rather than a sustainable stream of income over a long duration of time. And that's the goal with something like this, because account health metrics, considering that over 6% of Amazon's revenue, like I told you guys before, is generated by third-party sellers like myself, what ends up happening is Amazon has specific metrics in place that we need to abide by and we need to be within as Amazon sellers in order for them to differentiate who is a good seller and who is a bad seller. So the thing is, with these particular different types of account health metrics, this is what a lot of people oftentimes overlook. They think that they're going to make $10,000 in their first month and all this fun stuff, but not actually stay committed to account health metrics. Account health metrics is one of the most important things comparatively to anything when it comes to you selling on Amazon. So your goal with something like this is to always make sure that your account health metrics is much like your body at the end of the day. Right? If you want to live a long and healthy lifestyle, you got to take care of it. You got to work out. You got to eat the right types of food. And the same thing goes with your account health metrics if you're trying to be able to sell on Amazon. Now, second to that is going to be suppliers. If you do not have suppliers, you literally have no products to list on Amazon at the end of the day. So what this means, I'm not talking about using suppliers that are based on overseas like AliExpress, Alibaba, Temu, or using TikTok shop suppliers. No, only using domestic-based suppliers that are within the marketplace that you're selling in. So what this means is if you live in Canada, you use Canadian-based suppliers. If you live in the US, you use US-based suppliers. If you live in the UK, you use UK-based suppliers. What this does, we have more reliant shipping times, so usually it's about 2 to 5 days, and also they have high-quality, big brand name products that are authenticated. And thirdly is going to be coming down to product research. Now, if you have the most perfect account health metrics, if you have the best suppliers in the whole entire world, if you do not know how to do this third element, which is that product research, you literally will not be able to make money on Amazon at the end of the day. This is what I call your income producing activity. Your income producing activity is you got to learn how to sell the stuff that people are wanting to buy. And this doesn't mean that we're only going to be focusing on one particular product or one niche to that point. No. The goal with something like this is to be able to ensure that the products that you're listing are products that people buy day in and day out, no matter what happens in the whole entire world. Not just on what's trending or what's up and coming on social media. That's not what this is about. Because that's a lot of volatility in terms of the amount of revenue you can make. 1 month can be up, 1 month can be down. We want consistency. We want reliability. So what that basically means is every single little point in regards to the products that you're listing and the product research methods, I will walk you through specific KPIs, specific metrics that you need to be looking for products that tell you this is a good product, this is a bad product, and which ones would actually be worth it for you to list at the end of the day. All right, so let's get into the first element of actually registering an Amazon business and what the process is actually like for you to become an Amazon seller. Now, like I said, there's 3 basic requirements. Firstly, you need to be above the age of 18 in order for you to be able to sell on Amazon. If you are not above the age of 18, then you simply cannot sell on Amazon under your particular name. You may be able to do so using your parents' name. But Second to that, you need to be able to make sure you live in the US, UK, or Canada, and you are a citizen of those specific countries as well. I'm not saying that you need to have a business registered in those countries. What it basically means is they're going to need to verify your identification if you're looking to actually sell within their marketplaces. And thirdly, you need to have verifiable identification. Okay, so what this means is anything in regards to a driver's license, in regards to a passport, will be suffice as valid government issued ID, so that way Amazon can actually verify and say you are exactly who you say you are. So if you want to be an Amazon seller, you can simply go onto Google, you type in sign up to be an Amazon seller. It's going to bring you to a page. Inside of that page, you're going to go through the whole registration process. The registration process is pretty simple. It takes about 3 to 5 minutes, but just so you're all aware, you've got to be able to make sure that if you don't have a business registered, what's then going to end up happening is you need to sign up as an individual. All right. So what this means is you're not registering as a business, right? Or a registered business. You're signing up as an individual. Now, what that basically means in terms of the tax perspective, I am not a tax professional, so legally I cannot provide you with tax advice. So you can go ahead and consult a tax professional in regards to what the implications are when it comes to something like that. But at the end of the day, it's always something that you could change, right? So if you first set up to be an individual, you can always set up an LLC afterwards, and then you can go from there. If you first set up as an individual, then you can also register a sole proprietorship afterwards, and you can put your Amazon business under that particular information as well. So don't forget, like, whatever it is that you sign up with, you can always change it down the line also. Now, after you go through the registration process, Amazon is going to ask you specifically what type of plan you want to have. So Amazon has 2 different types of selling plans. You've got an individual plan, or you got a professional plan. Now, the professional plan is the plan that we're going to want to go towards. Now, the reason why we're going to want to do this is because selling on the professional plan allows you to have the ability to have no restrictions in regards to how many products you can end up selling, right? It is about $40 a month Canadian, or $29.99 a month USD as well. Right? But with that, you have a lot more freedom, you have a lot more flexibility, and you don't have limitations. If you choose to be on an individual plan, then simply your growth is going to be limited. There is no monthly fee with an individual plan, but they're going to charge you specific percentage or specific dollar amount for every product that you do end up listing, and you're limited to only listing X amount of products if you are on an individual plan as well. Now, outside of that, what else do you need when it comes to an Amazon business? Well, pretty simply, you need a computer, you need a phone. If you don't have a computer, then you can use something like a tablet, let's say, for example. That could also work. But generally speaking, you can conduct the day-to-day operations using your phone if you wish, but it's a hell of a lot easier if you do have a computer or a tablet as well, so that way you can view things on a bigger screen. And at the end of the day, you are running a business, so you don't want it to be something that's only run through your phone strictly. Now, when we talk about how much money is required for working capital, this is a very common question that I will get a lot of the times, and I'm going to be very open and honest with you. You do not need tens of thousands of dollars in working capital in order for you to start something like this, right? Generally speaking, this business will be run through credit cards, right? If you don't have a credit card, then it can also be run through a debit Visa card. However, you don't need a lot of money to start this because you're not buying the products before they actually sell. So what this evidently means is, even if you don't have $20,000 in available credit, that's okay. You're not going to need $20,000 in available credit, because we're never going to buy the products before they sell. We're only purchasing the products once someone has purchased products from us first. Then we use our credit card, and then we get paid out that amount on a 2-week timeline. And lastly, when it comes down to everything, you just got to be willing to put in the work. That's really what it comes down to. Right? Selling on Amazon and the process of it is pretty simple at the end of the day. But the one thing that I've found in the last 4.5 years coaching over 700 individuals is the ones that are wildly successful compared to the ones that, do minimal results. It's just simply how much they're willing to learn and how much work they're willing to put into it, right? A lot of my top performing students, they are students that don't make excuses for themselves. These are people that are willing to go through the ups, are willing to go through the downs in order for them to come out on the other side a lot stronger. Other people, generally speaking, they're just lazy. Some people are not willing to put in the work. They're not willing to list as many products as they possibly can at the end of the day, in which this is where the results are actually generated from. They're not generating as much money as they actually potentially could be. All right, so now let's get into this first element of an Amazon business, which is the account health metrics. Now, the account health metrics are basically divided into 3 separate elements. You got customer service performance, you have policy violations, and then you have shipping performance. Now, this is what you need to be very mindful of. Account health metrics are not something that can help you make more money, but is most definitely something that can stop you from making a lot of money. So you got to take care of your account health metrics. If you don't, Amazon will punish you if you're deciding that you only want to make money, but you're not caring about whether or not the product is actually delivered to the customer at the end of the day. So customer service performance is basically, pretty simply said, customer service, right? It doesn't mean you need to be doing 8 hours of customer service on a day-to-day with an Amazon business, but what it does mean is that, let's say, for example, a customer raises a concern in saying that their product was not delivered. If you don't solve that issue in saying that, okay, well, why wasn't the product delivered? Then that will go against your customer service performance. And Amazon has specific metrics that you need to be under or you need to be over in order for you to be within their target ranges. So for customer service performance, there's something called an order defect rate. The ODR is what we call it. Now, the ODR, you have to be under 1% ODR over the last 30 to 60 days of the products that you've received, right? So that means that basically if, let's say, 5 products out of the most recent 10 products, right, have an order defect rate associated with them and saying that customers didn't get their products delivered, customers were in situations where, they weren't happy with how the product came and they left you negative feedback, what ends up happening is that means your order defect rate is 50%. Okay. So your job is to be able to ensure that that doesn't happen. Now, I've never really seen in my last 4.5 years that people have an order defect rate of 50%. But just to put in perspective, telling you this not to scare you, but just to help you make sure that if you want to sell on Amazon, make sure you do it the right way. So customer service performance can be one of the most vital elements. And then in the middle here, you're going to also have the policy violations. Now, the policy violations, this is basically what we're referring to is specific things most commonly related to intellectual property claims. IP claims is what we basically mean. Now, how do we avoid this? IP claims, basically how we avoid it, is going to be coming down to specifically everything in regards to making sure you're listing products that are reseller friendly, right? Meaning that when you want to list a product, you can actually go ahead and list the product without getting filed for an IP complaint. So comparatively, if you look at a product like KitchenAid, let's say, for example, using a tool called IP Alert, and this is a free tool that everyone can be able to download, or there is a paid version as well. I use the paid version just because it's a little bit more reliant. It's a $99 one-time fee. I'm in no way associated with them, so it's up to you for whether or not you want to use them. It doesn't really bother me, but this is a sure way to be able to ensure that you can actually avoid IP claims. And what that basically means is if looking at a product like KitchenAid, let's say, you can see using IP Alert, there's a blaring red alarm. The red alarm tells me that this brand is known to file IP complaints, right? So that's where the policy violations aspect come into play. It's basically meaning that you're listing products that you're not authorized to list when you're selling them on Amazon. And using IP Alert can help you avoid that. Comparatively to a brand like Ninja, let's say, for example, or Ninja air fryers, you can see using IP Alert that there's a green check mark, and that green check mark allows me to know that this brand is in fact reseller friendly. Now, thirdly, you're going to have the shipping performance element. Now, the shipping performance element is basically going to be coming down to shipping, all right? Because we're doing Amazon drop shipping, and the better term for this is fulfillment by merchant. We are the merchant. We are in charge of shipping the products. So what that means is there's a couple of different elements that we need to be mindful of. Firstly, we need to make sure that our pre-fulfillment cancellation rate is below specifically 4%. Now, the pre-fulfillment cancellation rate, what this basically insinuates, when a customer places an item, you got to make sure you're not canceling it. Right. And the reason why you would cancel it is, let's say, for example, that your supplier is out of stock of that particular item. So you got to be able to make sure that that doesn't happen frequently, which stems from having a reliable supplier, which is what we're going to get on soon. So make sure to be mindful on that. And then second to that is going to be your late shipment rate. Right. So your late shipment rate is basically if a customer buys a product on the 1st of, let's say, for example, September, then what ends up happening is your handling time. So how long you have to actually confirm the shipment of the item, what ends up happening is that if you have a 3-day handling time, that essentially means you have until September 4th to upload tracking information for that particular item. So that tracking information, if you only confirm the shipment of the item on September 5th and not the 4th, that will go against your late shipment rate. So you got to be able to make sure that your late shipment rate is something that you are entirely being mindful of every single step of the way. And you're not only in a position where you're focusing on the specific things that, you're only focused on selling the items rather than confirming them and providing the tracking information on time and accurately, right? Now, thirdly to that is going to be something called a valid tracking rate, right? So the valid tracking rate basically means that when you're confirming the shipment of an item, you got to be able to make sure that your supplier, your shipping carrier, is using FedEx, is using UPS, is using USPS, let's say, for example, or they're using Canada Post, let's say, or Royal Mail if you're from the UK. The thing with this is that you've got to be extremely mindful. And the reason why is because if you upload tracking information from a shipping carrier that is not integrated with Amazon, it will not count as a valid tracking. So this is where Amazon has a specific metric that you have to be over 95% tracking. If you're over 95% tracking, you're good to go. But what goes against your valid tracking rate is uploading tracking information from shipping carriers that are not integrated directly with Amazon themselves. Now, there is one additional thing that I want to be able to cover. If you are in the US marketplace, there's a new specific account health metric called the on-time delivery rate. Now, what that basically means is if you set your shipping times to be 3 to 4 days, let's say, for example, that 3 to 4 days is accounted and it's cross-referenced based on what your tracking information actually states. So if the tracking information ends up only being delivered on day 5, right, but your shipping times say that it's 3 to 4 days, well, then your on-time delivery rate will go down. Right? So you got to be able to make sure that you know your supplier's shipping times. You got to be able to make sure that there's consistency and the tracking information accurately reflects when the item is actually going to be delivered within the specific time frame that you mentioned inside of the shipping times. All right, so as you can see on my screen, just to give you guys a little bit more of like a live look, I know I included the screenshots there, but this is basically what the account health metrics dashboard actually looks like. On the left, like we mentioned, you got the customer service performance with the order defect rate. Target needs to be under 1%. You also have the account health rating, all right? So this is where everything in terms of policy compliance, the specific things with intellectual property violations, received IP claims, and then you also have the shipping performance aspect, okay? So this is where we talked about the late shipment rate, pre-fulfillment cancellation rate, valid tracking rate, and also the on-time delivery rate. And this is basically what it looks like. It's going to actually download all the data once you are indeed selling on Amazon, once there's actual sales coming through. But this is what you guys will see in a brand new Amazon account that you are running. At the beginning parts, there's going to be no data, so everything is going to be not applicable here. As you can see, not applicable. But as 30 to 45 day mark comes about, the specific percentages will end up coming about also. All right, so now let's talk about suppliers. This is probably one of the biggest parts to this whole entire business. So you really got to be able to make sure that you're doing everything you need to do in the right way. Suppliers are an important part to this, and we're never going to be sourcing anything from overseas. So the first requirement that you need to have from a lot of your suppliers is that they're based in the marketplace that you're selling in. Like I said, if you're selling in the United States, you want to have a US-based supplier. You do not want to have a supplier that is coming from outside of US borders. If you're in Canada, you're using Canadian-based suppliers. If you're in the UK, you're using UK-based suppliers, and so on and so forth. The number one priority with every single little aspect of this is you have to be able to make sure that these suppliers have fast shipping times. Okay? I'm not saying 2 weeks. I'm also not saying 1 day. You got to have a good median range. So usually in the realm of 2 days to 5 days is ideal. If it's a little bit longer than that, then that's okay. But 2 to 5 days basically means you can still offer prime shipping. And also to that point, you're still delivering within a week, which is in a reasonable time frame. Not every person purchasing off of Amazon only wants 1 or 2 day shipping. That's not entirely how it works. As long as you're getting your product to them within a reasonable time frame, within 1 week, and you're also delivering it in a proper condition, everything else is good to go from that point. So your suppliers need to be based in the domestic marketplace that you're selling in. Second to that, they need to make sure that they have no minimum order quantity. An MOQ is what the technical term is. And the reason why we do this is because the MOQ, we're only selling 1 unit at a time. We're only purchasing the products 1 unit at a time from our supplier. So we're not purchasing the products in bulk. So suppliers that have MOQs are going to ask you to purchase, 100 different iPads before they actually sell, which is not our business model at the end of the day. So you got to be able to make sure that your supplier that you're utilizing has no MOQ, meaning that they only allow you to order 1 unit at a time, which is the name of the game with something like this. Then you got to be able to make sure that your shipping carrier or your supplier, uses shipping carriers that are more well known. FedEx, UPS, Canada Post, and so on and so forth. And oftentimes you can very much easily inquire to them in regards to what shipping carriers they use to ship out their products. Now, next to that point is you also have to be able to make sure that your suppliers offer big brand name products. Okay, so what that means, products like Ninja, products like Keurig, Nespresso, let's say, for example, DeWalt, Milwaukee, Makita, big brand names that we are all aware of at the end of the day, not small little brand names that you can't even pronounce that seem to be just knockoff brands, let's say, for example. The reason why we do this is because selling on Amazon the way that we do it, we don't have to spend money on ads. But the only reason why we don't have to spend money on ads is because we're already focusing on what people know, like, and trust. People already love the Nespresso brand. People already love Ninja air fryers. So we're just piggybacking on pre-existing product listings that we know people are purchasing day in and day out. So the goal with this is suppliers need to have big brand name products that are reputable, that are well known in their specific category or in their specific niche. Now, to that point, you also want to be able to make sure that a lot of your suppliers offer easy and simple returns. Now, this is going to be pretty much a standard thing with a lot of suppliers because that's what Amazon has. So a lot of suppliers need to kind of keep up with that same element of the free 30-day return window, but it's just something that you do need to be mindful of. Now, lastly, what you need to be able to ensure yourself of is that your suppliers offer what we call blind shipping. Now, blind shipping is basically there is no indication in regards to where the product actually derived from at the end of the day, right? Meaning that there's no branded packaging of what supplier you're using, and meaning that there's no invoicing inside of the product as well, right? So the supplier could put your name, right, what your store name is, on the actual box to prove that you are the seller of record, which means you're good to go, right? But what you don't want is if the customer paid $100 for a blender like we used before, and they receive their item and then they have a receipt or an invoice for $50 for that blender, obviously issues are going to arise. Customers are not going to be happy, right? So you need to be able to make sure you have a supplier that offers blind shipping. Now, blind shipping basically means the no invoicing aspect, but also the packaging in which it comes from. It's either in a blank brown box or it comes in the manufactured packaging as is, right? So think of like a microwave, let's say, right? A microwave or even a blender comes in a pretty big box. Your supplier is not going to put that big box in another big box because it's going to cost them more. So oftentimes it will come in manufacturing, but the name of the game with something like this is sometimes when you have bigger items, you have higher likelihood that it's going to be 100% blind shipping compliant. So now that the suppliers are out of the way, now let's get into the aspects of the product research, which is the third and most important element of your Amazon business. Now, product research, like I said, is your income producing activity, but you got to be able to understand what sells, what doesn't sell, and the specific things you need to look for in products that are top selling. Now, first things first, what tool do we utilize if we want to sell products on Amazon? I'm going to get into sharing my screen with you and I'm going to walk you through it. All right, so let's say we have a specific product like this. It's a Ninja swirl creamy ice thing, whatever that might possibly be. Now, as you can see, there's two elements that I want you to keep an eye for. Using the Get IP Alert aspect, you can see that visit the Ninja store. There's the green check mark from Get IP Alert, which means that I can indeed list this brand without actually running into any sort of IP complaints. Now, the tool that we're going to utilize, if I kind of scroll down a little bit here, is going to be something called AMZ Scout. Okay, now AMZ Scout, the reason why I like it is because as an Amazon seller, you don't need to have a lot of technical analysis going into this, right? Because we're not buying the products before they actually sell, we don't need to consider so many different other variables comparatively to what other Amazon FBA sellers might have to do. So what AMZ Scout does, it makes it pretty simple for me as an Amazon seller to just simply know a couple keystone metrics. Firstly, product rank. Right, the BSR, the bestseller rank. The lower this number, the higher the amount that that product sells at the end of the day. So this product is actually 1900, so 1988 product rank BSR in the product category of home and kitchen, which is fantastic. And to even further that point, you can see here with AMZ Scout, the estimated monthly sales for this product is 5,202 times. Right? So this allows me to know, using the AMZ Scout tool, that this product is indeed a really profitable item. Now, let's say if you don't have AMZ Scout, every single product on Amazon has this. If you scroll down to the product details aspect, you'll see under the product information, if you scroll down, you'll see the bestseller rank here. Okay, so the bestseller rank, if I zoom in a little bit, we can see that the bestseller rank is actually already there on Amazon. So this is a specific metric that Amazon already provides under every single product as is, right? But the only thing is that they just tell you what the product rank is. They don't kind of anticipate or evaluate and do the math on your behalf and tell you what the estimated monthly sales are, right? So even if you don't want to use AMZ Scout, you could also have access to the BSR rank for every single product. But the only thing is that AMZ Scout does make it a hell of a lot easier for you to be able to be in a position where you can know what the estimated monthly sales are for a particular product, right? So this tells me that this product has a BSR rank of 1,988, and the estimated monthly sales from this is 5,202, which is absolutely fantastic. So using a tool like AMZ Scout, all that basically means is that you're going to be paying about $25 a month for that extension if you do decide you want to be able to utilize it. Now, outside of AMZ Scout, how do we evaluate the top types of products that you need to be selling for an Amazon business? First and foremost, you have to follow a basic rule that what I call and what I've come up with 70-30 rule. Now, the 70-30 rule basically means that 70% of the products that you're selling are going to be focused in major categories, right? Now, major categories, what that basically means is tools and home improvement, sports and outdoors, home and kitchen, toys and games, grocery and gourmet, office supplies, industrial supplies, products that people are purchasing no matter what happens in the world. What are those types of products, right? That's your number one go-to in regards to how you can be able to leverage this. Now, second to that, you still got to be able to make sure that there's the other 30%. Now, the 30% is basically we're going to be focused on more seasonal aspects. So if it's the summertime, right, that means that we're going to want to be focusing on what are people looking for during the summer times. They like lawnmowers, let's say, for example. They like grass fertilizers. They like to buy pools, let's say, for example. They like to buy vacation things and so on and so forth. During the winter times, well, if you're in Canada and it's a little bit colder, people are looking for shovels. People are looking for snow blowers. Maybe they're looking for other things, like, let's say, for example, things to keep them warm, right? Mug warmers or anything like that. Your 70-30 rule is basically your way to protect against any sort of volatility with your Amazon business. So you're not going to have a niche store with an Amazon business. What you want is a general store. Selling products, the 70%, is going to give you the consistency and income on a month-over-month basis, right? Now, the 30% is going to have you have increase in sales month-over-month because you're anticipating seasonal aspects. So the 70-30 rule is your way of protecting yourself or hedging against any sort of volatility and maximizing your sales across all the board for your Amazon business. Now, your name of the game when you're doing product research, your goal is to ensure that you're finding products from big brand name products like Ninja, let's say, for example. But when you're looking for in terms of the best seller rank, so the BSR, we want to be able to have anything below 500,000 is a keystone metric that allows you to know, okay, you have the ability to get this product to sell at least once in the next 30 days. But your goal with this is simply sheer volume. You don't want, and you're not going to ever find the products that have a one bestseller rank. That's not going to work. That's not how this process works. How you're successful is finding a handful of mediocre producing results in terms of products that have a decent BSR, but you're getting from many different directions. So you're not just only listing one product. You want to list 50 products. You want to list 100 products. You want to list 800 products. And there's a direct correlation between how many products you list and how much money you end up making with an Amazon business. Now, the name of the game, because we're never buying the products before they actually sell, why not list as many products as you humanly possibly can? The more products you list, the higher the chance of you making sales. That's the name of the game with this whole entire process. So don't try to focus on getting the best of the best. Try to be able to make sure that you're uncovering decently producing, mediocre producing products that have a decent BSR around that 500 range or below that you can potentially be able to capitalize on and be successful with. Far too often when I come into Amazon businesses and people are telling me, well, hey, I'm not making sales or I'm not making as many sales as they're long, it's simply because they're not listing as many products as they possibly can. Now, partly could be because of the business model. Yes, that's entirely true. But the other part is if you are drop shipping on Amazon and you're doing it in the way in which we do it, that's 100% TOS compliant. At the end of the day, there's no excuse as to why you should not be listing as many products as you can. You should have 800 products in your inventory. You should have 200 products in your inventory, right? I have a mom of 3 children who's been able to surpass over $20,000 in sales in her first 30 days. How do you think she got there? The only way in which she was able to get there is by listing products that, firstly, she knew people were going to be buying day in and day out. but she didn't just only focus on one type of product. Listed as many as she possibly could and then seeing what sticks from there. We also got other people like Lakem James, who did $10,000 in sales in his first 10 days. We got other people like Michelle, who's a full-time paramedic based out of Montreal, Quebec, that's been able to do over $10,000 in 30 days as well. The goal with this, the common denominator from all these successful individuals inside of my mentorship program, is simply focusing on the sheer volume of product listings. The more you list, the higher the chance of you end up being successful with an Amazon business. Now, one quick side note to all of this, if you actually want to be in a position where you want to have all the answers basically given to you, and you just want to simply implement on a proven game plan, that's exactly what I've done over the last 4.5 years. I've built out a program that is a done-with-you one-on-one mentorship program that holds your hand every single step of the way. And that means that we uncover specific things like account health metrics, step-by-step SOPs, and giving you customer service templates, scripts, everything you need to be able to be making sure that your account health metrics are simply polished. And then I'll also provide you with a whole list of over 200 domestic-based suppliers, no matter what marketplace you're selling. And whether it's in US, Canada, or UK, I will give you a specific list of over 200 suppliers in whatever marketplace you want to sell in. And most importantly, inside the mentorship program, I will provide you with 4 different highly lucrative and profitable product research methods that you can use to make your first sale within 7 days of applying those product research methods. So if you want access to that information, if you want access to my one-on-one help inside of this mentorship program that's done with you every single step of the way that I've been doing over the last 4.5 years for over 700 people, click the link down below to get started and apply to be able to see if you can actually get help with our mentorship program and you can get to where you want to be. Now, just a quick side note, if you're finding this information very valuable so far, if you're finding this is something that's giving you a lot of clarity, please go ahead, click that like button. You can go ahead and also subscribe to this YouTube channel so that way I know this is something that's worthy to you and I know that I can continue pushing out more content exactly like this. And also, if you're really serious about starting an Amazon business and you do indeed want my one-on-one help, because thing is with account health metrics, suppliers, and product research, you might be thinking about, well, how do I handle these customers, or how do I find these suppliers, or what are the step-by-step processes to find hot selling products? But that's exactly what the mentorship program is going to do for you. All right. So it's a done with you one-on-one mentorship program that I personally help you with. I am the head coach for over the last 4.5 years, like I've done for over 700 people at this point. Now, once you get through all these motions of you've mapped out your account health metrics, you know exactly what types of suppliers you're going to want to utilize, and you're focusing on listing more and more products within your product research, and you're focusing on that 70-30 rule. What's next? What's the point at which you're going to get to, maybe $50,000 in sales a month or $100,000 in sales per month? The hard truth about this is that you cannot do that alone. And what I mean by that is you're going to need to start utilizing other people's time. Right? So OPT. And what that basically means is you're going to have to build a team around your Amazon business so that way it can start producing income for you. Right? So the goal with this, and the beautiful part about this, is this business is 100% remote. You don't need to have an office. You just do it within the comfort of your own home, but you also have other people called virtual assistants that can help run the day-to-day business for you. So that way you don't need to do the redundancies of order processing or inventory management or listing products. And outsourcing is the number one thing that I've seen that's allowed people to get over $100,000 per month and getting to over $2 million per month, like a student of mine, like Christian, is just simply leveraging other people's time, right? I'm not saying that if you do this, this is exactly the types of results you're going to get, but just based on my experience, it's oftentimes the number one key thing you need to grow to the next level. To get this thing from a side hustle to an actual real business that's performing for you, you got to be able to build a business around other people and getting those other people to help your Amazon business reach to that new level. Because you're only one person at the end of the day. You can only take this business so far. But once you get to a business where you're actually taking it so far yourself, then at that point, it's going to come out to leveraging other people as well. So look, the information inside of this video here will give you every single little detail you need and you need to know about when you're looking into starting to sell on Amazon, right? This is specific information I've used to start my own Amazon business when I was in my parents' house, in my bedroom, working on my office, still as a broke valet driver in university, to the point where I'm now traveling on my own terms, living life on my own terms, and just simply not having to ever worry about money at the end of the day. And I'm not saying that that's exactly what your goal is here. I'm not saying that that's what you're going to be able to do, but this process has completely changed my own personal life, and I want to share it with you. And it comes down to what you want to do with it at the end of the day. So at this point, you have 3 different options. You can let this be another YouTube video that you just watch and you simply take no action from. But look, of course, there is a sense of realization you need to have, right? If you go through your YouTube history and all the videos you've watched, there might be so many different other how-to videos that you've looked at similar to this one, and nothing has changed for you. Nothing has actually, been acted upon in your perspective. And the issue with that, right, is not only on one perspective, is it a little bit to a certain point like, well, what am I doing with my time? What am I doing with my life, right? But you also need to realize that what are your priorities? Are your priorities actually to be successful, or are your priorities to just simply tell yourself that you're being successful without actually doing anything about it? Right? Because there's a big difference between watching YouTube videos for the sake of watching YouTube videos comparatively to watching YouTube videos and taking action from them as well. So look, you can totally do that, right? But I don't want you to be in a position where you're feeling stuck any longer. Now, the second option is you can actually take the information that I gave you here. You can actually take the information that's available to you on my YouTube channel and get to taking action on it, right? You actually go to implement it, right? You actually go after this video, you go around to Seller Central, you sign up an Amazon Seller Central account, and you put the wheels in motion, right? And that is, if the bare minimum, the one thing I want you to get away from this is to actually take action on the steps that I'm providing for you here. Because the goal with this is to not be in a position where you're not doing the right things for your Amazon business, but you're just simply putting one foot in front of the other. That's the number one priority. But the reality is, chances are you might struggle through that process. You might get to the point where you're stuck on account health metrics. You might get to the point where you're not finding the right types of suppliers. You might get to the point where the products you're listing are not selling, or maybe you're getting IP violations from the products you are selling. It might take you a long time through a lot of trial and error and a lot of critical mistakes, and maybe even some costly mistakes, for you to get to the point where you're hitting whatever it is that your goal is that you want to be able to achieve. And it's entirely not your fault. This is something new for you. This is brand new. There's a lot of different moving pieces that come into place with something like this in order for it to actually be successful for someone like yourself. And it might feel frustrating for you. It might be like, you know what, this isn't working. It's not worth it. I don't know how are these people doing. You might end up giving up, right? And I don't want that option for you. So that's why this third element is extremely important under every single means necessary. You can get help from me directly to help you start, scale, and build your Amazon business quite literally from ground zero. I've built a program the last 4.5 years that's helped over 700 brand new beginners in the Amazon space start, scale, and build their Amazon business, all with my one-on-one help. The way in which I coach and mentor individuals is simply that this is a done with you program. I'm there with you every single step of the way. I am your training wheels when it comes to you riding a bike as a kid. I'm always there to make sure that you don't fall. I'm not saying it's going to be sunshine and rainbows, but the severity of the down is going to be minimal because I have the tools, I have the resources, I have every single element under the book covered to be able to make sure that you can get back up and you can move one step forward in your direction. So if you truthfully want access to a proven blueprint that's going to help you get to where you want to go with the least amount of effort, with the least amount of sacrifice required from your end, because you might be busy with kids, with work, and all that fun stuff, and you want to get to the point where you're increasing your likelihood of achieving your goals because it's something that's been battle tested for the last 4.5 years, and you want to decrease the amount of time that it's going to take for you to get to that point, then click the link in the description down below to apply to be a part of my mentorship program, so that way you can have the right tools, the right resources you need to be successful. And like I said before, we're talking about everything from account health metrics, templates, scripts, SOPs, financial tracking dashboards. I'm going to give you a list of over 200 domestic-based suppliers. I will help you cover what exactly the products are you need to be listing within your Amazon business. I'm going to show you the 4 product research methods, and then even to that point, we even tack on a bonus and throw in a whole entire automation package as well. It's going to help you learn exactly how to automate your Amazon business from A to Z, so that way you can have this business running for you rather than you working for it. And to be clear, even outside of all those other aspects that you're going to get, you do have access to the ability to book one-on-one calls with me. You have access to get a community channel as well, to get connected with other Amazon sellers that are going to inspire you, they're going to help you, that you can ask questions to. And you're really going to have access to basically the cheat code for you to be able to sell on Amazon and get to where you want to be within the shortest period of time possible. So if you're really serious about doing this and you're someone that's willing to invest in yourself to get to the point at which you want to be able to get at, click the link in the description down below, and I'll see you all on the inside.